Good afternoon. Don't you love our lovely gong? Okay. My name is Mary Jiang, and I'm the president of the Oakland Rotary Club. Founded in 1908, we're the third oldest club among some 36,000 clubs in over 200 countries around the world. We are a diverse community of 270 business professionals and community leaders who unite to serve our local and international communities through a commitment to service above self. Thank you for joining us today for our 5,402 meeting in the California Ballroom and online. For over 114 years, we have welcomed Rotarians and guests to our club meeting. Because COVID is still highly contagious, please continue to wear your mask when you're not eating or drinking to protect yourself and each other. For those attending online, if you are visiting Rotarian or guests of a Rotarian, please state your name in the chat box, which is located on the bottom center of the bottom of the screen so that we can recognize you later. If you have comments or want to ask a question of a speaker, please use the chat box. We recommend you view today's meeting using speaker view, which is located on the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So now for our thought for the day, I'd like to welcome Rotarian Cinder Namela via Zoom.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary. And actually, my thought for the day is a rather simple one. It's small minds discuss others, average minds discuss events, and great minds discuss ideas. It's by Eleanor Roosevelt, and it reminds me of why we are all here today at Rotary. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Cinda. Yeah, I agree. We must all have great minds. We're all here today. All right. Please join me in reciting the Rotary Vision Statement. If AV could pull that up. Great. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Okay. Guests are welcome to visit our club. Past District Governor and past President Ed Jelen. Do we have any visiting Rotarians today?
President Barry, I am pleased to report that we have some wonderful visiting Rotarians today. And on a personal note, that my job is secure for one more week at least. So first, I'm happy to welcome from the Rotary Club of Pinole, Richie Fernandez. Is Richie?
Right there.
Right on the inside. Welcome, Richie. Yeah. And then we have from the Rotary Club of San Francisco, the second Rotary Club in the Rotary world. He is a past president of the club and current chair of the Rotary Climate Action Committee Network. Please welcome John Matthews. And I'm going to give the mic back to John in 1 second, but we have another distinguished Rotarian to welcome, past executive director of this club, the person who gave me my new member orientation 25 years ago, a terrific Rotarian, Rotary royalty in this club. Please welcome from the Rotary Club of Paulsbo, Washington, Lori Sinclair.
Yeah!
And President Mary, you did allow past President John a few seconds here, so here's the mic.
I wanted to invite everybody in the club, November 26th, on a Saturday. We're having a global event run out of Assisi in Italy. You're all invited in person. If you don't want to do that, you can be online. 4 continents, And it's all about the challenges for 2023.
Thank you. I saw a bell ringer beacon, David Stein.
President Mary, fellow Rotarians, I would love to ring the bell for Lori, because as a past president, anyone who had the privilege of being a past president or president when she was the ED knows how wonderful she is as a person and to deal with. And even more importantly than that, she recruited CJ into Rotary, which allowed me to really connect with CJ, and you know the rest of the story. So please ring the bell.
Okay, David Stein for Lori. Okay, Shannon, give her a mic.
I can't imagine my career, my Rotary experience being better, having Lori being a champion and a cheerleader and an organizer, and everything that you've done for this club is will never, ever, ever be forgotten. And it's just part of the build for the future. So thank you.
Yes. Shannon Hackley. Oh, a bell ringer there.
I'm Rick Draper. What they all said, and I add a little personal story. She was very gracious to new members when I joined, sort of led us around by the hand, suggested in only a way she could do that you might not want to do that, but we have something else for you to do. So I'd like to ring the bell, and it's good to see you, Lori.
Thank you. Could you state your names? I have it for the record. Rick Draper, thank you. All right, did I see another beak? Okay, right there. Here, Mike behind you.
Can you hear me now? I'd like to ring the bell for Lori. I echo everything that everyone said, but I think they missed one of the most important characteristics of Lori. Lori is one hell of a lot of fun. Good to see you, Lori.
Joe Baraka, Valori. Okay, I'm gonna have to add myself to the list. She made me feel so welcome when I first joined, and she walked me through all the problems I encountered and resolve it. So I ring a bell for Lori also. Mary Jo. One more. Okay. Ring the bell for Ralph. Okay, he didn't say it. Okay, thank you. All right, so do we have any? Okay, we got all the guests. Okay, thank you. So Rotary members around the world also welcome to visit our club. Peter Sheriff, do we have any visiting Rotarian guests online?
We have nobody that signed up on chat.
Okay. All right, thank you for joining us today. Again, I'd like to welcome all guests today, and you're always welcome to join us at any future meeting or club events. Now, I have the privilege of inducting our 7th new member of the Oakland Rotary Club. Will Janani Ratmanchadan and her sponsor, Rania Webb, please join me at the lectern. So, Janani, welcome to the Oakland Rotary Club. You're joining 270 Rotarians in our club and over 1.4 million Rotarians throughout the world. Rania, would you introduce Janani with 2 interesting facts about her?
I feel special standing on your stand. Thank you. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. My name is Rania Webb. This afternoon, I have the honor of sharing with you all Ms. Janani. Just really quick, you know, she and I relationship is a testament of, even in this political election season that we are in, she and I actually met as potentially opposing candidates in the D4 race. And our first conversation was really deep and interesting, but we just made a pact that regardless of what was going to come, we would be respectful, honest, and just hold integrity, and most of all, service above self. So I really just want to just thank her for that, because, you know, our paths turned off in a different way, but this is just a testament that sometimes you can be on opposing sides, but if you hold the service as our North Star, that, you know, you could do a lot of things and accomplish a lot together. So I just really want to honor her in that. And then as far as her interesting fact, she's actually a second generation Rotarian. Her mom is a Rotarian, and she actually was an interactor during her high school years. She spent a summer in Venezuela, and I know she will be a wonderful addition to our Rotary band because she not only wrote, but she also starred in a musical play. So I would love for you all to welcome Miss Janani, our newest Rotary member.
So, Janani, let me find your red badge. It's right here. Here's your red badge, which signifies your new status as a new member. You'll also receive the 4-way test, which guides Rotarians in their daily lives as follows. Number 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will build goodwill and better friendship. And 4, will be beneficial to all concerned. You will receive in this goodie bag a Rotary Made Easy handbook, which will provide useful information about our club, and also a directory with your 270 years newest best friends. Here is your Rotary pin, and please wear it proudly. So that way with the pin, you can attend meetings in any Rotary club around the world. Finally, you also receive our centennial book written by our own Rotarian, Lyndall Hamilton, covering the first 100 years of our Rotary history. Your commitment as a new member is to, 1, attend meetings either in person or online, participate in club service activity, and contribute to the Rotary Foundation and Oakland Rotary Endowment. It is my pleasure and privilege to induct you as the newest member of the Oakland Rotary Club. Let's give Janani a warm welcome. All right. At this point, I'd like to have the privilege of introducing Bill Purcell. Would you come to the podium to give us your self-introduction?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I first of all have to apologize for wearing white after Labor Day. I know this is important to Mary. I was born in Kirkland, Washington at the end of 1948. I got a license to sell real estate while I was in college. I developed a Circle K in Tucson, Arizona on my own. And I did all of that when I was in college. I went to the University of Arizona, was very active in Vietnam protests. I was a member of Weather. We moved to California, or I moved to California in 1973, took a job at United California Bank. Eventually, I was appointed head of real estate loans in Northern California with offices in Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, Fresno, and Eureka. We mainly did interim construction loans. They had a portfolio of around $250 million of loans. I increased that to 650 by the time I left. In 1980, I made a loan to the Teamsters to build Caesars in Vegas. You're familiar with Caesars in Vegas? You know, the Teamsters built 6 casinos in Vegas. They literally built Vegas. And I'll tell you a little story. You don't steal stuff off a Teamster site. There was a flatbed trailer that was loaded with steel and it disappeared. And then the next day at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was back on site. And then I read in a newspaper of a guy named Sam, I can't remember his last name, Sam, who had a trucking company in Vegas. He was in the hospital with 2 broken legs. I guess he was the guy. I also did financing for a guy named Francis Ford Coppola. We lent him a $40 million letter of credit, and with that, he raised the rest of the money for The Godfather. We also lent him the money to do Apocalypse Now. I would invite him to speak at Rotary, but I know he would never agree to the 3-minute time limit. I had to administer his budget of $40,000 a month for personal expenses, most of which was spent on a private planes flying to Los Angeles and elaborate dinners. He usually took 2 to 3 women with him, and they were always different women. Godfather and Apocalypse Now are considered 2 of the greatest films. So I was happy to help him with that. He's a very magnetic guy, and he's a very difficult guy, to say the least. Another project that I did was a project for Claude Ruiz. I don't know if you know Claude Ruiz. He had a restaurant on Nob Hill in the basement of a hotel. And I lent him the money to build a restaurant in Rutherford called Auberge du Soleil. I don't know if you've ever been there. He also built a hotel next to it, but he did something different, that he put apartments on the lower floor of the restaurant. The restaurant, it's on a hillside. And if you're going up Silverado Trail, just north of the golf course, there's a small sign, and you go back on a road about a quarter of a mile, and it's back there. The apartments were for investors and visitors from Europe. And he says, that's what they do. That's how they do it in Europe. Separately, I sold a project, 900 acres in Orinda, to a Japanese guy I met in a strip club in Hong Kong. 27 million cash. I sold the Acura dealership in Oakland for $42 million, $452 per square foot, the highest ever achieved in Oakland. I sold it to a guy named Clyde Holland. He was from Portland. I've always had interest in horses. I have owned several thoroughbreds. The good thing about the horses is that they don't talk back when you go there at 8 o'clock at night and tell them your troubles. I don't recommend this to anybody because it's a very expensive sport. I think I spent $10,000 a month on horses. I, along with partners, bought a project called Oyster Point in South San Francisco. We formed a joint venture with Principal Mutual Life Insurance Company out of Des Moines, Iowa, and built 75,000 square feet of warehouse and R&D buildings, 450,000 square feet of office, and a 200-slip marina. I sold the warehouse for $35 million. They cost $24 million. We made $11 million. That was the biggest project that we built, although we built about 1 million square feet with partners with a guy named Rich Diodati. About 1 million square feet of smaller 35,000 to 45,000 square foot warehouse buildings in South San Francisco. That's it. Right. You meet your time limit?
Yes, you did, this way, yes. Bill, thank you for that fascinating story about you and all the celebrities. Now, if you can get, is it Spielberg? Coppola, okay, if he can get him, Bill, tell him I'll give him at least 30 minutes at the podium. Okay, Joe Caraca, I understand you saw an excellent Shakespearean light play last week. Could you tell us about it and share with us your brilliant idea for a social event?
Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. So speaking of fun, I think I stumbled across a really fun Oakland Rotary outing. Last Friday, my brother invited Martha and I to a play. We loved it, and I think you'll love it too. The play is Lear, an adaptation of Shakespeare's drama King Lear, but it's not your traditional Shakespeare play. For starters, the actors, all but one, are Black. So the power dynamics are not your Old English. It's set in the 1960s Black Panther Power to the People era. The main kingdom is the Fillmore district of San Francisco. Hayward is an enemy camp. And the play is spiced with a jazz score by San Francisco band leader Marcus Shelby. How many Shakespeares has jazz in it? The play is magically unique. It is awesome. Oakland Rotary was able to get a group of 20 tickets for Wednesday, September 28th at 7:30. The cost is $45 a ticket, a great price because some of it was subsidized. Lear is at Cal Shakes and the Bruins Outdoor Amphitheater, located just as you come out of the tunnel on the Rinda side. There is a really nice picnic area out front. So if you bring a bottle of wine or beer and a sandwich, I think you're set for a grand night out. If you love Shakespeare, this play is for you. If you hate traditional Shakespeare, this play is for you. If you support diverse artistic talent, this play is for you. If you support creative local artistic works, this play is for you. If you remember the Black Panther era, this play is for you. If you enjoy really great theater, this play is a must-see. The play is in a small theater and only for a very short run. So we could only get 20 tickets together, only 20 tickets. You can purchase tickets online on the Oakland Rotary webpage. Tom's got it all set up for us, he usually does. Thank you, Tom. But I suggest you act fast. Remember, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. Hope you can join us. I think you'll love it.
So you hear Joe, tickets are limit, first come, first serve. So contact Tom Lamone or Jesse for your tickets. All right, Carrie Hamill, could you tell us about updates and changes the Laney food packing and distribution program?
Yes, I will. So thanks to everybody at Rotary who has made this our Tuesday lunch packing affair at Laney College so successful over the years. We, for a long time, were actually dealing with the students face to face and distributing food, but then the pandemic happened and the world changed. And so we just started packing bags that then they later picked up. They want us to go back to the face-to-face contact, and we want to go back to the face-to-face contact. So what I'm telling you today is things are shifting, and I'm going to keep sending you emails about it because it's hard to remember new things, at least it is for me. So we had been staging our bag packing on Tuesdays. Now we will be distributing in the Student Center on Wednesday, not Tuesday, Wednesday at 10 o'clock, 10 to 1. So if you can come for a full shift, that's fine. If you can come for half a shift, that's fine. But please join us. What we hear from the people who run the campuses, the good news, everybody is back. The bad news is that there has never been more need for help with food and basic things like that. So please join us next Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. On September the 2nd, the PR and Communication Chair and Leadership Team had an informative social media training by board member Allison Bliss. I want to give a shout out to Allison Bliss for advising. Yes, I want to give a shout out to her for advising our leadership team on business and marketing communication strategies to take our club to the next level. If any members would like to learn more about social media and marketing techniques, you can help execute these advanced ideas if you join the communication committee. Please contact Allison or Community Chair Isaac Carls Reed. Okay, 2 weeks ago, Celeste Gordon and the DI committee gave us an excellent rollout of their community goals and committee goals and objectives and the results of the DEI survey. They had plans to implement their goals and objectives to the general membership through education, activities, and speakers on a monthly basis. Today, they wish to implement phase 1 with an amazing speaker that Nancy will now introduce. Take it away, Nancy.
Thank you, President Mary. I'm so excited for today. As you guys heard me tease last week, we have a wonderful speaker, I would say interviewee today, Miss Kate Schatz. And Kate Schatz is a feminist author, activist, public speaker, educator, consultant, and queen feminist mama who's been talking, writing, and teaching about race, gender, social justice, and equity for many years. And it's not, can we stop there? Okay, that's okay. And it's not, and if that's not enough, she's also the New York Times bestselling author of the Rad Women book series. Kate speaks and consults about radical histories, anti-racism, parenting, politics, and more, and appears frequently on national media outlets and popular podcasts, including Conan, MSNBC, NPR, WNYC, WBUR, and Minnesota Public Radio. She's spoken to audiences at companies like Pixar, Genentech, PayPal, and Baker McKenzie, and has been in conversations with high-profile figures, including Margaret Atwood, Kate Hudson, and Black Voters Matter co-founder Latasha Brown. Kate is one of many great humans that we are proud to know representing the Bay Area, as she was born and raised in San Jose and lives in Alameda with her partner, 3 kids, and their many pets. Again, please join me in welcoming Kate Schatz to Oakland Rotary. Please. Really glad to have you here. For those folks online, I'm sure you're going to have questions. So we have a new system. You're used to hitting the chat box, but there's a Q&A feature. So if you are going to ask a question online, please hit that Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. And for in-person, there's a microphone set up in the middle of the room. Feel free to step to that as once we get through a few questions with Kate. So again, welcome. Pleasure to meet you. I'm glad you're here. So this is the book for those of you that don't know. It's called Do the Work. There are books in the back if you'd like to purchase one. She would be more than willing to sign it. She signed mine, which I'm excited about. I see people holding up books in the audience, so that's great. So the first question, it's a wonderful book. It's a lot of fun, but it delves into a lot of different issues that most people don't really think of on a daily basis, so it's really important. But so how did you come to collaborate? Your co-collaborator is W. Kamau Bell. And so how did you start collaborating with him on racism and topics such?
Hand it off. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for having me. And I should add that I was also in the Interact Club in high school. I think I'd kind of forgotten about until just now. So I'm also an interactarian, however we say it. That was a very long time ago. So again, I wrote this book with W. Kamau Bell, who's a local hero, national treasure, really, but also one of our great local heroes. And I don't know if you've seen his show on CNN, United Shades of America, which he just was nominated for more Emmys for. And also his incredible documentary on Showtime called We Need to Talk About Cosby, which is incredibly powerful. So it's been an honor and a joy to collaborate with Kamau on this book, which is, again, an anti-racist activity book for adults, which when we pitched that to publishers, and as we've talked about it, before people actually see the book, we get a lot of, how's that going to work? So it is working, we think. And we got the idea for the book. Kamau and I have known each other and been friends for a long time. I think, as you know, living in the East Bay, we run in similar circles. We kind of run in the same artist, activist, social justice people circles. We're always kind of at the same events and parties. We both have young kids, so we saw each other with parenting stuff, and we've collaborated a number of times. I think we've built a friendship over the years, again, a lot often around activism work. I've been involved in racial justice and social justice and reproductive rights work for a very long time. And this particular collaboration really came about in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. And then the summer of 2020. And in the wake of George Floyd's murder at the hands of the Minneapolis police, Kamau was finding himself, like a lot of high-profile Black folks in the entertainment industry, he was getting asked to appear on talk shows, on late-night talk shows. He was getting opportunities that he doesn't normally get. And he was also getting requests and inquiries from a lot of white people that he knows who were coming to him asking what they could do in that moment of kind of an initial racial reckoning that we were having. And so he wrote to me, he sent me an email and said, Kate, all these white people are coming to me saying, what can I do? And he basically said, I'm kind of sick of it. Can you help? And I said, yes, absolutely. Like, send me the white people. I will talk to them. It's it's a lot of the work that I do. And he took that very literally, because the next day he actually was booked to go on Conan O'Brien. And he texted me, this is a true story. I got a text message. I was driving on 880 right by downtown Oakland with my really hungry 6-year-old son in the car. I get a text from Kamau saying, I'm going on Conan. I really would love to talk to you and brainstorm some things I could say. And I said, okay, I'm driving. I'll call you later. And he said, well, no, I'm going on in 10 minutes. And I pulled over right on Broadway with my angry kid in the back seat and got on the phone with him, and we kind of strategized, what can he say? And again, he's brilliant. He knows he has a lived experience of race and racism in this country, but he felt like at that point he was kind of saying the same thing. He was out of ideas and he wanted to come up with something new. So we strategized. He went on Conan. He mentioned my name on Conan. It led to me having a lot of social media followers. And we kind of had a moment. And, with a lot of these things, when you have a moment that's kind of viral, you can seize that moment. You can do the best you can with your platform in that time. But we knew that it wouldn't last. We also knew that summer of 2020, when the protests were happening, when everybody was engaged, we knew that wouldn't last either. So we wanted to create something that could last. So we came up with the idea of this book, and we pitched it and sold it at the end of the summer of 2020, and then it just came out.
Send me your white people, not a phrase that we hear often, but thank you for sharing that. So let's talk a little bit more about the workbook format, because I do think it's important. And how do you recommend someone approach the workbook? I mean, there's a lot of activities in here. Again, I encourage everyone to pick up the book, just because it just gives you ideas that you never would have thought about, and has you thinking and exploring your own, sort of your own past. But But how would you suggest someone approach it if they're buying a book and overwhelmed by just the amount of work that's available?
Yeah, thank you for that. So the idea for the workbook really came, I mean, in part when we decided, we should do a book. And this is very true. He said, let's write a book together. I said, of course, like, why would I say no to Kamau? It was the pandemic. I was like, other projects were really stalled. And we got together on Zoom to brainstorm, and we both pitched each other the idea of an activity book. And I had that idea. I thought he would think it was ridiculous. And he literally came with that idea too. A huge reason is that we were home with our kids. We had just gone through several months of watching them on Zoom at home, trying to do everything we could to keep them engaged. And we were up close and personal with how their teachers were desperately trying to keep them engaged. And so we thought, all right, here's this topic, this content that is deadly serious and incredibly important, talking about white supremacy, talking about what everybody can actually do to make meaningful, impactful change. It's really hard for people to talk about. So what are some strategies to get people involved in stuff they don't want to talk about? Well, you can use humor, right? You put a lot of pictures in it, and you make it interactive, right? Like, how do we get third graders to do math? We make it fun. We turn it into a game. So I was watching my kid on Zoom, all these little video games they're doing with rocket ships, and it's actually just how they're doing math. So we figured, well, let's just borrow from that. Kamau has a background in stand-up comedy. I am also an educator. I taught at Oakland School for the Arts for many years. So I know what it's like to be, we both know what it's like to have a tough crowd, right? Whether it's my high school students or him in a comedy club or our own young children. So we're used to trying to get, it's like putting a little sugar in it to make the medicine go down. So we thought, this is also a way to get people to engage with the material. So you're not just reading. And it was also at a time when we were seeing all of these very powerful, important books about race and racism on the New York Times bestseller list, right? There was like a period of time where almost the entire nonfiction list on the Times bestseller list was all books about race and anti-racism, right? It was the new Jim Crow. It was Ibram X. Kendi's books. Beautiful books, necessary books, powerful books. Also, was everybody reading them? A lot of people were buying them, but we said, are people reading them? Are people finishing them? And even if they do they know what to actually do with that content after? So we kind of thought of this book as like, it's like your companion to the 800-page book about the history of white supremacy that you're reading. Like, you take a little break from the heavy, intense literature and you can do a crossword puzzle, or you can do a quiz, or you can do a coloring page. Take a little break.
Yeah, that's great. It's a really great book for book clubs, because a lot of times you do a book club, you read the book, you come back, and you're one and done. There's no way to do this. It'd be a series of activities for sure. Again, reminder online, if you have questions, please use that Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. You're not going to get a chance to talk to Kate or ask questions regularly, so it's a great opportunity. So this is a question specifically to our club here. As Mary mentioned, for the past year or so, we formed a DEI committee. We've been doing the work, and so recently we did a readout for the club, and an action plan that went along with it. And one of the most frequent questions that we got was, what does success look like? Right? So that question for me, it feels a little bit like, okay, when are we going to be done? Right? So I want to know your insight on that, how you feel about, what's success look like? Is there a formula for that or a picture for that? And are we really ever done?
Yes, thank you for that. And I have perhaps bad news for some people, which is that the work is not ever done. It's not. It's ongoing, and we joke about that in the book. In fact, the last page in the book is a certificate of completion that we made that you fill out, and then at the end we say, "Come on, just kidding, you're not done." You didn't read one book and then you ended racism and you're perfect and everything is good, right? That's not how it works. And so while a lot of this book is very action oriented, it's really about, here are a whole bunch of things that you can do, actions you can take. We also spend a lot of time in the book focusing on the internal work that needs to happen and to shore that up, right? And so to me, I think the kind of anti-racism is, it's different from not being racist, right? Not being racist is just, it's passive. It's not, you know, you can, a lot of people will say, well, I'm not racist. Okay, that's fine. Anti-racism is being active in that, taking steps against racism in your community, in yourself. It is being active. It is doing something to resist systems of white supremacy. So it's not ever done, right? So, and I think that when you do establish a committee and begin this process of DEI work, especially in organizations, we are used to trying to find metrics for success, right? We want to have, well, how do we check the box? How do we decide that we did the right things? And again, I think that you will measure your success by, I'd say one thing, if you have a committee and you begin these efforts, you measure your success by whether that committee is still around in a year or in 2 years, or in 3 years, right? If the interest continues, if the engagement continues. And to me, a lot of this work is about shifting our mindset to be conscious of how race and racism and other forms of inequity are functioning all around us all the time. And one of the biggest cornerstones of white privilege, of male privilege, of being someone in a position of that privilege is not having to think about it on a daily basis, right? As a white person, I could very easily not at all think about my whiteness or about race. I can move through the world and really not even realize it. As a man, you can walk through the world and really not even be aware of what the experiences of women, of transgender people, right? This is part of privilege. So I think a lot of this work is shifting your mindset to be aware of it and to see it. And when that happens, you realize that, again, it's not something that has an endpoint. It is how you see and understand the world, and then that informs the actions you take and the relationships you build.
Great. And so for my last question, again, we'll have Q&A for anyone in the room that wants to approach the mic. But one of the I really love the chapter, and you actually referenced it in the beginning, but I really love the chapter 4 because it's entitled, "What do you do?" Right? So it's a perfect segue. And one of the exercises is called get to know your lane. And I want you to talk a little bit about why it's important to get to know your lane, because I also feel a lot of times you get some uncomfortable questions about people are saying, well, you know, I'm woke, so I'm good, right? And so, you know, so everyone does have a lane based on their experience. So talk a little bit about why that's important.
Yeah, so that's, so again, chapter 4 is that we joke at the beginning, look, if you just want to figure out what to do, you can skip all the other stuff and just go to the part where we give you ideas, right? So to your question at the beginning, how can someone use this book? I'd say in any way, right? You can start at the beginning, and we structured it so that it does carry you through a journey, but you could also skip around. And if you want to know just a bunch of ideas, it's chapter 4. But the idea for staying in your lane, or knowing your lane, that's a phrase that's often used as a pejorative. People will say, you know what, just stay in your lane, right? You know, you don't know what you're talking about. It's often used as a bit of an insult to tell someone to just, you know, they should just stay in their area, know your place, and don't try to do too much. So our concept with that is that your lane is actually really powerful. And I also think that a lot of times folks, when they are interested in change making and they want to be an activist, there's a sense that you have to kind of reinvent the wheel, that you have to join a whole new organization or start a new nonprofit, or, you know, do something entirely outside of what you're already doing and where you already live. And I think this is also really true in the Bay Area, where we have a real tendency to think that we're all good, we're all woke, all the problems are over there in Florida or Texas, and they literally are, it's horrible, right? But like, there is plenty to do here. So the idea here is to your lane being your communities. It might be your workplace. It might be your church. It might be your kids' public school. It's your neighborhood. It's your next door group, your listservs you're on. It's your family. It is your high school friends that you're still in touch with, right? It is the communities that you are known in and where you know people. And the idea is, how can you be impactful there, right? What power do you have there? Who do you know? And then how is racism and white supremacy showing up in those places? What are you already doing about it, and what could you do? So again, you don't have to step so far outside of yourself to really make a difference. Also, I think a lot of times people think, well, anti-racism work sounds really important, but I'm really busy. I've got enough going on. And it's like, yes, you do. So do I. That's why you look to the places that where you already are and think about that. I use an example in here of a good friend of mine who was really wanting to be involved in activist work. She was so busy and overwhelmed, but she kept trying to do all this stuff. And then a good friend of ours, she's a Black woman, another friend of ours is a Black woman in Alameda, who's no longer with us, but really was a big inspiration for me. And she told that friend, she said, look, run for PTA president. And my friend was like, PTA, like, come on, that's a bunch of bake sales. Like, I'm trying to march in the streets. I'm trying to make some change. And our friend was like, no, this is where you are. This is where your kids are. This is how you help the community. This is how you help those babies. And she did. She ran for PTA president and she had a bunch of bake sales, but she also did some really important work within one school to support kids of color, to support families, and to make some real change. So again, you don't have to do all this different stuff. You can look at your lane, figure out what you need to do, and do that work right there.
Great. Any questions? So go ahead and step to the mic.
Hi, I have about 1,000 questions, but I'm going to start with 3.
Great. It's reasonable.
Hi, I'm Shannon Hackley from Shannon Lee Associates, and I'm privileged to be a member of this club for over 30 years. And it was very white male. I was the 3rd woman, and things have changed. Thank God. But I do know what it's like to be a woman in a male organization. I'm also in construction. 3 questions. 1, is this for white people? The book.
Is it what?
Is the book for white people?
Yes.
Okay, good. 2,
I'll say more, but yes.
yeah. And 2, is there a part of the book, and I intend to read it, that talks about forgiveness? Because we as white people have a habit life, and we don't know when we're screwing up sometimes. And it's so obvious we're screwing up. And where is the conversation where we can screw up and have a conversation? It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I shouldn't have said that word. Can I rephrase it? But people just get pissed off and leave. Okay, so forgiveness is, we need to retrain our muscle memory. So how do we do that? So is there a part of the book that might be around forgiveness? 3rd, I'm a mother of 2 20-something boys who are white, privileged, raised by a liberal, freak out liberal mom. But they don't get it because I'm not a 20-something boy. I need to teach them how privileged they are. And I have been doing that since they were this big. Do you have any tools in your book to help me teach my boys how freaking privileged they are and to shut the heck up about, I didn't have a slave. I didn't have a slave. Why is everybody mad at me? I am not racist, Mom. But why am I being discriminated against? I'm like, wah, wah, wah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, I got it. Okay, I'm gonna do like quick bullet points. 1, who's this book for? It's for white people. Also, it's for everybody. But look, when it comes to talking about this, doing this work, dismantling white supremacy, this book is directed primarily at white audiences. People of color, all kinds of folks I've talked to are getting so much out of it. Absolutely. Also, the entire book publishing industry is directed and marketed toward white people. That's the system that we live in. And I would rather just say that outright, and we say it right away in the book. I'd rather just own it rather than being like, oh no, it's for everybody. Again, if we're writing a book on ending sexism and discrimination, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's not really for men, it's for everybody. I mean, we know, so yes, it is for white people and everybody else. And also it is for folks of color who are tired of white people asking them what to do. It's a great gift. Here's a book for you. To your second question about forgiveness, which I think is really important. Yeah, we spend a lot of time in this book talking about what to do when you F up. We swear in the book, what to do when you mess up. And for our position that we take is it's not about what do I do if I mess up, but rather what do I do when I mess up? Because whoever you are, you're going to misstep. Kamau and I both share anecdotes of times when we messed up. He tells a great story about when he mistook one local Bay Area news Asian woman for another Asian woman on a different network, and how he recovered from that. And I think the thing is, before we get to forgiveness, what we really need to work on is how to apologize. And that is something that a lot of folks have a very hard time with. So before forgiveness, is how to shed our defensiveness and how to just apologize. Because I think that forgiveness comes when we show that we can do something wrong. And when we get called out, we can say, I'm really sorry. You're right. I was wrong. Here's what I'm going to do better next time. So we spend a lot of time in the book talking about that. And often the anxiety that we have, oh, I'm going to get canceled. They're never going to talk to me again. If you can just show up with a good apology and own it, most of us are going to forgive you in time. Also, forgiveness takes time. So does trust. So sometimes you just have to sit in the discomfort of the mistake you made. But again, if you have said something that hurt someone, if you did something wrong, it feels worse to that person who received it than your anxiety about messing up does. And that's just a thing I try to keep in mind. As to your sons, Godspeed, good luck. I'm also raising some white boys, and it's hard. And I would just say, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. Give them books, give them articles, call them out when they're wrong. And, you know, hopefully they will figure it out. It's not easy. I probably will come up with better suggestions later. But we do actually have to address that in here. Those little kind of things people say, oh, I didn't own slaves. We've got some snappy comebacks. So, and maybe you can do ancestry.com and see if your family did at some point own slaves. Mine did, and I found that through Ancestry. So that's a humbling experience too. Yes.
My name's Lois Corn. Thank you very much for being here. We got 2 observations and then a few invitations for you. When I went to get my book at Marcus Books, Blanche shows me the page that lists the privileges. So the first one is white and the next one is light skin. And I just thought that is so important because as far as I have, it's not statistically sound, but empirically I've determined that it seems that all cultures and groups have this hierarchy about that complexion thing. So I thought that was like really, really important to put in there. Thank you so much for the rad books. Didn't know it was you. This is wonderful. And I live in Piedmont. We have changed our name from Piedmont Appreciating Diversity Committee to Piedmont Anti-Racism Committee. And so we're planning some programs. And I'm also on the League of Women Voters Program Committee, and I belong to St. Augustine's. So you're going to get some invitations to participate, and we can only pay you in love.
Thank you. Thank you for all that. And you know what I want to say too, to this idea, how you renamed the group from the Diversity Committee to Anti-Racism, right? That is so powerful. We talk a lot in this book too about just the power of words and naming. And we have an activity where you can rename a school. So we give you a thing and say, you rename a school in your community. What would you name it after? And you know, there's a lot of language we use. For one, a lot of the words that we use will then get co-opted. You know, even woke has been insanely co-opted, right? It's ridiculous. But something like diversity, it's a great word. It's also incredibly subjective. Because what diverse looks like to me is very different from what diverse looks like to you, right? And so often what we're really talking about is like racism and anti-racism, but we use words like diversity. So I appreciate that you've renamed that because that's a powerful statement. That's really important. So thank you. And I'll come talk to those groups and you can pay me in love. It's great.
Well, thank you again, Kate. It's been a pleasure having you here. Again, we do have copies of the book in the back if you'd like to purchase them. Kate will stick around for a little bit to sign them. And thank you to the audience.
All right. Kate, thank you very much for that awesome and fascinating interview. Education is my area of focus for this year. The Rotary Club of Oakland is proud to partner with Oakland Promise to offer 8 $10,000 scholarship annually to and offer mentorship to students who are many times first in their family to attend college. In recognition of your presentation today, Oakland Rotary will make a donation in your name to the Oakland Promise to support their kindergarten to college program for every child in Oakland. Thank you. Okay, as Nancy mentioned, near the door, Ruth will be there to sell books and she'd be happy to autograph it. I see somebody raising a bell ring beacon. Ruth, would you like to?
Yes, very much. I would like to ring the bell in honor of Kate Schatz, who I've known for many years and have not had the pleasure of hearing her speak publicly until today. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Kate.
All right. So, let me tell you, a bell ringer is a generous $100 tax deductible donation to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. And so we also have online bell ringer, Linda Bosnicker for Lori Sinclair. And Linda Chu also for Lori Sinclair. So, okay, will Johnny and Rania please proceed to the back of the ballroom so that Rotarians can greet you as we leave today. Allison, will you tell us about next week's speaker?
Thanks, Mary. Thank you very much for this. Next week, one of our supporters in Mary's honor, Wendy Takuda, will be here to present to us. Many of you already know her from the help on the community service projects that she's done with us. Those who don't know her, she's an award-winning journalist and former beloved TV news anchor in the Bay Area. And she'll be sharing for the first time with our club her very personal story about her family's legacy in the Japanese internment camps. So please, I beg of you, people online, do us the honor to be here in person next week so she doesn't think she's just speaking to, 30 people in the ballroom. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cinder, for your thought of the day. Johnny for joining us as a new member. Bill Purcell for that wonderful self-introduction. Joe Garaka for telling us about a new social event. Carrie for telling us about Laney College food distribution next week. Nancy Williams for introducing this week's speaker. Kate Schatz for an awesome and enlightening interview. Allison Bliss for the teaser for next week's speaker, and the production team for managing this meeting. I look forward to see everyone at next week meeting in person and online. So, 谢谢, which means thank you to everyone. This meeting is adjourned.